Alright, everyone. So, as you could see by the title of the video today, yesterday we were doing some troubleshooting. We were doing some as we were building it, we came up with some bugs, and I highlighted it a little bit. I think it's gone. See how far back it goes. I was misusing index, I believe, was the problem. And I was trying to point out, do not be afraid of when you get a bug. So right now, the current bug we have, and it's an oversight of how I'm handling everything. So let's just go ahead and get to it. So if you're just joining us, and if you haven't liked the video yet or subscribed, go ahead and do that for me. So whenever you're expecting an outcome, you need to understand the path. And when I say path is, I've used the term path, I've used the term buckets, I've used, so the way that it flows through the program. And typically the way things flow is at a decision point. So a decision point, an if, an elif, or an else. So right now we have a flaw, and I want to test something. I want to see if these breaks work, because I didn't want to do this after, but I was so frustrated that I ended up doing it. So let's check and make sure, because because for every loop you have, you need to have a subsequent break. So they go accordingly. So let's run this, and let's do Q. All right. So the break does work. So that wasn't my issue. So now, as we were going through, we found that once we get into this else, we were not having a proper flow. When we would enter Q, it would jump out, and then we'd be here. So we need to test, because typically, hang on a second. My wife went to work early again today. And there we go. So our first path is we come in here and we build, we take our user input, and we go from here. Now, we are doing, if you look really close, they are not the same. So we'll go ahead and check this. So we were arguing, or I was arguing, that I was misusing or having something. So we need to compare and rerun. So I'm going to, because we have our first, it's going to test to see if we've already guessed it. So check this out. So we handle this right here. And then now we're going to guess again. Hey, Nico, how are you? So what we're doing today is we're really deep diving. You've already guessed this now. So I need to queue again. Now watch. User guess. So one of two things happens. Your path is not being hit, and that's it, typically. Or you're checking for the wrong thing. So if you look really closely, it's not hitting this break because right here, this user can be a lowercase. So our dilemma from yesterday is we were not also checking for upper as we were coming through. So I was, oops, you already guessed that. So it's not in. So, ooh, we need to fix that because that's not actually the case. You've already guessed that. It's just not present. All right, then A1. Now let's do Q. And perfect. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of an error, a bug. So like right here, when we got our error yesterday and we were having a mismatch, we were testing, we were looking for, because I forgot how popped works. So I was trying to pass in, basically I was treating it like remove, and I was passing in the object of what I wanted to remove, and I did not recall. So there's kind of like a step or a checklist to go through when things are not quite working. So when you have something designed and it's not quite working the way you're expecting it to, make sure you understand what it is. How does it work? Is the path going through the way you're expecting it? So right now, with our design, we just found that this bug this unintended consequence. That's a perfect term for running down. So what we did, if you're just joining us today, we had a path problem when we were in our else down here and we were trying to hit quit. We were not breaking out of our while loop because what we were doing is user was a lowercase q, and we were checking for a uppercase q. And if you recall, these are not the same. So the point of today's video is embrace the mistake. So what's going to happen is embrace what's wrong, because you're going to get so much smarter. So I lean into it. So when I find a mistake or I have a problem, I almost get giddy. And even a year ago, definitely 2 years ago, there is no way I would have done one of these live coding sessions. The anxiety that I would have had of making a mistake, it would not have been worth it. The amount of stress of any mistakes that I was typing and having things go wrong and not being able to problem solve them. There's absolutely no way I would have done this. But now, understanding that I'm going to get a whole lot smarter, because when you do these, so I talked about this, that you have a direct action designing where you're actually making it work here. But there are so many steps, and I think I've used the example of a storyboarding when they're drawing up for movies. They just have this concept and they've got to get it out of their head so they can have other people in the room see their vision. So that's exactly what software engineers, app developers, blah, 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 blah. I got to get this out so you can see, so we can all be on the same page, and then we can go from there and we can build the team, and then we can build what we're going to need to support it. So if you think about it, storyboarding, gathering requirements, laying out the roadmap, I mean, all of those things, the end user has no idea, doesn't care how much time and energy and effort goes into it. But it matters to the development. So right here, when I change this one thing, I should have immediately come down here and said, all right, where does this occur again? And I should have immediately come down here and had this. So I had two different paths of input, here and here, and I did not treat them the same. So you have to be on the lookout for those type of activities. So if you're just joining us right now, thank you very much for joining us today. Please make sure you're giving this video a like. And if you are brand new here, make sure you're hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. So yesterday we were building a board game of basically guessing. So the zeros were the cards that were not turned over, and there are four there are four hidden X's behind here. So let's go ahead and make sure everything is done. So right now we fixed this bug, and we had another one we found a little bit. We did an edge case. So if somebody types in Z1, what comes out is you've already guessed that space, please guess another. So we need to figure how to handle this. We could do this one of two ways. If you recall, are we doing upper? If I do, shoot. Where are we doing this again? Space. Yeah. So I do guess, user guess, and then space. I think this is a bingo. All right. But that only works if it is here. So we need to handle this we could handle this a couple of different ways. When we break out column, so where's column coming from? That is building here. All right. So if you remember, we could have another list of the guesses, and we remove it. And then I guess what comes to mind is let's be clear. How do I want to do this? I'm going to hard code this. Less than or equal to C less than or equal to, anyway, we got A through, we got 6 of them, so F. Does C occur? This is going to be so janky. So basically, we could have it test to see if it's in here, in this list. As we pop, boy, what are we doing? Are we popping it out? We've already guessed that. Yeah, we are popping it out. And we want to make sure that it's between A and F. So I pop it. If it's not, else. So we're in here. So let's go through this path. So what I'm doing is I want to contain. So if it's not in here. Hey Dax, how are you? Live coding shows true skills and not just Python skills. If you mention this channel in an interview, be sure to mention. Yes, that's a great point. That is a very good point, Dax. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. Hoping your Friday is starting well and your week is going to finish well. But no, 100%. That is a great point. Now I just got to get an interview. I got Monday or Tuesday. Monday through Tuesday morning. Monday afternoon through Tuesday. I think I got 10 rejection emails. It was Tuesday was bad. And then had an old HR person that I used to work at the building. She reached out and said, hey, I got a new job. Look at these and apply for one of them. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm going to at least find some human is going to actually look at my resume. So we're going to find out if the lack of education is the problem or the lack of Tableau or BI. So it's one of the two, because I believe everything that I've done and have done at Walmart is pretty good. I mean, the amount of support that I've given our larger team, yeah, it's some pretty cool stuff. All right, I digress. So if it's not in this list, we need to now double check and see if it is even, hey, if it's, and we need to find this path. So our two buckets. So is it a potential guess, or is it outside? Are you using, do we even need to check below A? Because we're converting, because I can't remember. ASCII. Is lowercase a greater than uppercase? I can't remember which comes first. Nope. Lowercase comes after. Yep. ASCII. Is it indent? Python ASCII. It's one S, one C. So let me pull back the curtain a little bit of what in the world I'm talking about, of how this is actually calculated. So actual value is being, that's not what I want. Object, I thought we passed in, did we pass in the string? Set, what do we pass in for ASCII? ID is the, let's see, help, ASCII. Try to ASCII only representation, convert. Whoa, what is going on? Oh, that's an add. Oh, whoa, hang on. I want the ASCII value. Python ASCII value. Char. Okay. Okay, I guess. Here we go. Okay. Help on ORD. All right, built-in Unicode key. ASCII Unicode. I knew I was. All right. So what is happening? So let's look at the actual value. So a value is assigned to this capital A, and a value is assigned to a lowercase a. And I'm going to show you how I'm deciding this. So it goes down a list, and the value for a capital A is 65. A value for a lowercase a is a 97. So when you do this right here, this is how Python is interpreting this. So if you ever see this and you're like, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but 65 is less than 97. This is the equivalent right here. This is what's actually happening in the background. So when you are looking at, and this is also, if I remember how Python is interpreting digits, if I recall. So when you're looking at a string and you're converting a string to an int or a float, it looks at this Unicode value, if I'm remembering the under the hood of Python. All right. So we need to now differentiate these two paths. So we have our if and our else. Is it in this list? Now we have to guess, is it a... How do we make it look so easy? All right. This is probably... So how do I make this look so easy? Is that what you're wanting to ask, Nico? Because there is no... You're not going to like this answer. I've been doing this for 7 years. I've stood up in front of classrooms and classes and seminars and for hundreds and hundreds of times. So if there's a sport that you like, think about something that you were not good at when you started, and then now thinking, reading, writing, spelling, all of these things. A person, if you go and get somebody who you're 10 years older than, and you start doing a thing, and they don't know how to do it, and you make it look so easy, so elegant, so simple to them, well, you've been doing it for 10 years. And now that I have a additional hobby, since my hobby is my job, I do jiu-jitsu, and I've been doing that for 14 months. Well, I'm now just not bad. But when I started, it's so ridiculous, somebody between 0 and even 6 months. But now 0 and a year, even a bigger evolution. So to answer your question, how do YouTubers make it look so easy? Because they've done it hundreds of times. Hundreds and hundreds of times. Think about a card trick. Think about a... but only to the... Okay. I got Sam, your superpower is time travel. Description, you can travel through time, but only to the previous Tuesday. Okay. Actually, what my superpower is I don't know how to give up. I know that sounds so cheesy, but I learned a long time ago that I have to try. I have a saying. I have to try twice as hard to be 80% as good as somebody else. But I know that. To know... Now, if you want to... Okay, here's something unbelievable. Has anybody ever noticed my stutter? I'm just curious. You're not going to offend me. I used to have a awful stutter. If you go back and look at my first video, you probably heard it. So it only ever really comes up when I'm nervous. And if you really think about it, I'm sitting here talking in front of a microphone, and I'm envisioning that you guys are sitting on the other end looking at the screen, and I'm trying to make eye contact through the camera as much as I can. But it's just repetition. Oh, I have anxiety. I get it triggered. Not that much anymore. Frustration will trigger the stutter, but just doing it and getting up in front of people. I remember shortly after I got promoted to a manager at the building, and I had to go and stand in front of the general meeting and talk. If I would have thought more about having to lead meetings, I would have never tried to get promoted because I was terrified. Now, going and standing in front of a couple hundred people does not bother me at all. Awesome. Thank you, Dax. But it's just doing, like I said, Nico, I would not have done this even a year. I know not 2 years ago I would not have done a live coding session. Maybe not even a year ago. But I know that when I'm doing this, because this is real. This is did you hear it there? Edge cases. Because this is a real scenario. If I was sitting here and I was playing my music, I would be distracted. Wait a minute. I made so many cool things, but I have almost no friends to test it with. So start a YouTube channel, Nico. Put it on Twitch. Put it on YouTube. Put it on Twitter. Just put it out there. Start sharing. Start talking. You'll be surprised. I'm shocked that, what is it? 12? How many? I'm shocked that anybody is right here right now. To be honest, 12,789 as of right now. I am blown away. So I think next week or the week after, I'm going to have 1 million views of all of my videos. Let's see. I am at 995,900 and change. Let's actually get its rounding for me, I think. Yeah, not 9,000. I guess it's still 2 weeks away. I'm under 6, and I'm averaging around 4,000 views a week. And it's because of folks like y'all come and hang out with me and ask stellar questions, and need help and want. 303 people on Discord. That is absolutely awesome. So when I started doing my YouTube channel 7 years ago, I was getting single views, just single views, and I made things that were interesting to me. Now, Nico, one of the things that you're going to have to get comfortable with is, can you keep doing it when nobody's wanting to watch? That's very challenging, because I remember, and I have to remind myself that I dropped off and I took like a 2 or 3 month break. It may have even been longer. I may be lying to myself, but it is absolutely awful to sit there and try to make stuff and nobody wants to watch it because of they don't click on it, they don't find it interesting, it's not exactly what they want to know. And I would argue that I'm having the same issue. There are these things that I'm trying to impress upon everyone on the channel. Hey, you need to really be comfortable with this, whatever this topic is. Like when I talked about the number triangle, finding and understanding the scenarios and the ratios between those spaces and those things. Because when you're given a project and you're having to unpack a ton of data and you're like, wait a minute, why isn't this working? And you have to write it to a table and you go back and forth, and you're going to repeat that skill set over and over and over again, having to find a path to go through, having to understand, okay, why I know I'm down here because this is happening. Why isn't this being initiated? Why isn't it converting into this? And then you're going to have to sit here and go layer by layer by layer and be like, oh, I forgot my upper. And it's simple things like that. It's that simple problem solving. Programming, data analyst, data engineer, all of these things, it's just, I promise you, it's no more than standard logic of if this happens, this happens. Why is this happening? Oh, wait a second. And I'll go back. Even in this small little goofy example, I was trying to remove something from a list with the wrong technique. I was passing in a string. I was using pop as remove because I didn't look at the documentation before I used it. So that's on me. But I saw the error and I adjusted. I understood to make sure. I made sure I understood exactly what I had. I was like, okay, I needed an index. So let's come back a layer. Let's get the index, find it, now pop it out. So now what we have, so what we're doing right now is we're tweaking our board game example because right now, if we guess something out of something bigger, if we mistype Z, if we type instead of A1, we type Z1. Well, it falls under this else, because if it's not in this list, Z1 is not in this list. Do we agree? Yes. So we agree that Z1 is not in this list. So we dump down here into this else. Well, this is not actually the proper example of what should be output to the screen. We have not already guessed that space. We have not already guessed this space. That space was never an option. So now we need to have another test. So let's do if, let's say if, we're going to split this out. So now we need to break this up. So we need to get our column and our guesses. So we need to do this right here. We need to do this above. So this is perfect order of operations. So we need to break this up, column and our row. So, and we were just looking over here and we were going through this. It's going to be something similar to this. I don't know exactly, but we're going to be somewhere here. So if column is, let's see. How do we want to do this? Because I want to test and make sure it's in between greater than 97. So we know that 65. So we're gonna utilize this type of control. So we are converting because we just had this issue. So greater than equal to column, and then greater than equal to F. And then I'm going to dump down here. All right. Now, just follow me through here. You can get very easily hung up on your if and your else and your indentation. So this and this go together. So now I need a this and here. And let me show you. Let me make sure that we can see this. Maybe behind me a little bit. Let's bring this up here. You can always, you can either arrow down or you can look at your column right here. So you have your line, I'm on line 81, and then my column, line 9, my indentation. All right, and that needs to be right here. All right, so now I have another else. So let's see. Because now this one is going to be please enter a valid guess, and we need to bring this again. And boom. Please enter. Let's bring this over so everybody can see. Please enter a valid guess. All right. And enter your guess, blah, 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 blah. All right. Let's see if this handles this problem. Save, and we need to check. All right, so we brought our upper, okay, we learned from our last, and that's the other thing. Oh my gosh, I can't say this enough. Learn from, like, honestly, learn from your mistakes. It is cool. Look, I get giddy when I make a mistake. I did get frustrated yesterday because I guess I had tried a few things. But you have to be humble. So we could talk hours about humility and ego. These are all the things that I've been learning over the past few years, and I'm old. So if you guys can learn this now, that will be great. So your subconscious runs amok and handles things. So subconscious and ego, those go hand in hand. So if you make a mistake, awesome. squeeze it, hug it, learn from it, take ownership of it, and learn from it and grow. You cannot repeatedly keep making the same mistakes. That's where troubles come into. All right, so now let's test it. And the second you start saying, oh, well, that's your ego lying to you and misleading you. All right, so cool. So we're going to try 1A. All right, cool. 1A swapped to our blank space. Now we're going to guess 1A again. You've already guessed that space. Please enter a different space. All right, we got to fix that. That's awful. So now we're going to test Z1. And okay, nothing happened. So now we did not dump down into here. So this is another perfect. So now let's check and see if this path will still work. All right, good. So our path, our bucket, whatever term you want to say. So right now, if it's not in there, great. But then it came here, and this did not happen at all. So let's find out why. Column. It's okay. So we may need to change this, but I don't want to have to change all of this. For O in, for row, do I have row? I have row and I'm going to have to redesign all this. All right, so we're going to have to sit here and pay attention to our variables. Okay. So I'm splitting out. You've already guessed that. So then I came and I entered Z. So it was not in here because we just showed that it was not. So then it comes into here. Else, if, else. And we may be doing some stops to control the flow of this to see where we are. So if you're just joining us, thank you for stopping by today. If you've not hit the like button, go ahead and do this. So what we're doing is we're enhancing some user experience that if you've already made the guess, you get a notification you've already made that guess. Please guess again. But what we also found was that if I entered an invalid guess, something that wasn't even a choice, we were getting the same error of you've already guessed that, because the way that we designed this was we're checking inside of this. So spaces is right now. Spaces, A is gone. So we're going to double check and make sure that in spaces should be false. All right. And then Z1, let's just be real. Z1 in spaces. All right, so false. So it's not here, so we are now here. So we are now converting user guess, but it should be 0. Or user guess will be a Q. That was horrible. See how I've done horrible planning? So I'm not able to use this outside of here because I'm overriding. So we're going to have to look at this the long way. All right. So I have user guessed. And I'm going to assign this to Z1. And then I do column, row, then dot list, Z1. All right, column. All right. So in my first idea is I did this. So we're going to find out. Now, I am awful at true and false. So I could easily have an issue. All right, so column. Oops, that will throw out. Is that what I did? F. All right. That's what I was expecting. And it should have. So if do this, you have already guessed that, correct? So now my else, we should enter, please enter a valid guess. So there is something happening that I'm unaware of. So we're going to be, let's enter a stop right here. Oops. Let's come down here. We're going to go F1, A1, Z1. Okay, so it completely jumped this completely. It didn't even stop at this code at all. So I entered, what I did is I entered a stop. So when it got to this line, it should have stopped the code processing. But it did not. So we're not triggering. This is not triggering this at all. When I entered Z1, it came interesting. All right. So let's see what we're missing. So we jumped out. It's not hitting the brake because we're not hitting a Q. User Z1 in spaces, no. And it just printed. I entered Z1 and it came all the way out. Okay, I want to try this. I'm going to try this another way. I'm going to enter Z1 right now. Bingo. All right. Please enter a valid guess. So the first time through, all right, you guys see this? So when I recheck, so the first time if I guess this, so let's now A1, Z1, Z1. Okay, I have a path problem. So I have to enter, so order of operations. This is a perfect example. So I'm getting down into here, but it's taking me a lot longer than I'm expecting. Because now I finally entered, please enter a valid guess. Enter your guess. Example, or EG. I forget. I used to remember what EG stood for. It's supposed to be E dot G dot. All right, so let's see. So if you're just jumping in, what we're doing is we are what we did is we fixed our dilemma of our path of not quitting when we got down here, and it was a really simple bug. It is I did not put an upper after this. It's actually was after this one. So now what we're doing is I was doing some edge case testing, and I was entering a Z1, which isn't even an option. And we were getting this error. We were getting this message back, which is not 100% accurate. You have already guessed that space. Please enter. And let's fix this now, because this is going to drive me bananas. So, all right, this is garbage. So you have already guessed that space. Please enter another space, a different space. Please enter another guess. Well, that's interesting. Guess. All right. Done. So now we tested this when on the first go round, we got it to jump out and hit invalid guess. But there's an order of operations, and this is why I'm doing these things, is because I've talked about the 9 dots, the finding the path, finding the algorithm, to have something, a set of instructions that will handle all input. No, I'm not going to talk about that. Never mind. Okay, so we can get down into this path of please enter a valid guess. We could enter this. Yeah. Let's do user guess. Technically, let's try this. I want to try something. We got to make this an F string. Oops. User guess is invalid. Okay, let's try this again. Let's clean this up. Z1 is invalid. Please enter a valid guess. All right, I like that a lot. Okay, cool. So now we just have a path problem. So now here we are. So we can get down, we do get down into this, but for some reason, okay, all right. So let's see where this is going. So it's a problem here. So if I enter, where does this loop? Are we looping? Because this is, I jump from here to here on my first guess. But interesting. All right, let's check this again. So if I guess wrong the first time, I get the proper path. But then I have to guess wrong twice, or enter an invalid guess twice to get to the message. You guys see? Did that make sense? So if I hit Z1 here, boom, I get the invalid. But if I guess A1, whoa, I definitely have a path problem. It did not hit this at all. Okay. Here we are. This is interesting because I did not remove any of it. Order of operations problem. You guys see this? I just made a valid guess and nothing happened. You guys seeing this? This needs to all be below here or copied. So you have a couple of options. I could have redundancies. Because look, this is the first time I hit all of this. Then I'm taking input. So very, very cool. I don't remember having this issue last time. Of course, I was not solving this. So now let's go real slow to make sure everybody is understanding this. I'm coming up here. So here's my path. Please enter a valid guess. I'm taking my guess and I'm going all the way to the top. And I come all the way up to here. I come back through and I get to here. You follow me? But I entered a guess, so it should have come to here. So we can do this a variety of ways. And I'm trying to think about this with containing and controlling loops. I could do another loop, which I do not like. Now there was I want to see something. I don't think Python has this. I remember, I think it's C++, Python go to line. Because there is a go to line number while true equals go to 20. So there was a way back in the olden days in programming, so you wouldn't have to worry about loops and things. And I'm trying to find is there? No way. Forgive me, I can't resist. Let's see. I want to look at something. So we're gonna have to use, but yeah. So what would actually happen back in the olden days of programming? So to control this flow, is if this happened here, you would then send it back to a certain line. But we also want the board to be reprinted, and so on. So we have a flow problem. So let's dig into this. So if you're just joining us, we're making this more robust of taking in valid and invalid solutions. And I'm trying to make this more elegant without just having to reprint the board and things like this. So I may have take it once outside, print the board. Let's see if we can clean this up before we get into copying and pasting and redoing the board all these times, because I really don't want to have this done every single time, because we could get into a circular issue where we could have a problem. I can feel that a little bit. So we may do this at the top. And so let's slowly go through this flow and see where the issue is. So yeah, I'm actually kind of excited. 2 years ago, I'd be having a panic attack with y'all watching and me trying to figure this out. And I don't remember having this issue last time, but I also know we were not handling invalid guesses at all. I know that because that's probably one thing that I've become more proficient. I wouldn't say proficient, but more proficient at really handling bad input from users, which is they have other things, protecting the user from themselves. There we go, because they just want to come and use your tool and get the answers and go deal with their real job, not help you fix the thing that you built so that then they can use it. They have a responsibility and they have a job, and your job is to make their job easier. That's why you have a job. So, all right, let's see. So we come in here, and we don't need this anymore because we fixed our problem. So we're going to be running out of. Why is that like that? And let's come back to true. So we need lots of space. So we're gonna start cleaning this up. All right, because we need to be able to see, because we do have a issue. So first time through, bad guess, I get down here. And then I come up, and it works the way it's supposed to. But when I get this, when I enter any of these, I come, bingo, these should probably be reversed. Does that make sense? Follow me here. So if I want this to be done last, then I should have all of these inputs. So basically I need to check the inverse. So I could do not in, do all this, or else, blah, 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 blah. So what I really want to do, all right, let's hang up on that for just a second. I need all of this done below any input. Does that make sense? Because if I take input, I need that to be then handled and moved up. But what is happening is I'm overriding my guess, printing out the board, and then taking another guess. And that is not what I want to have happen. I want to take input from the user and then do all of these things. So my issue is, and I kind of figured it was, but now I've just proven, because I want you to look at this. Let's go through our order of operations. I entered Z1. Z1 is an invalid guess. Please enter guess. So I'm down here. Is an invalid guess. Please enter guess. So I'm here. Then I loop through. Let's close this a little bit so we can see everything. Perfect. So I loop through and I come all the way back up here. I print the board out, and then I get another please enter guess, and I overwrite it. See? So I take this input. I'm going, okay, here. Boom. So really, I don't need the user input. I just need this to be a print statement. Bingo. Let's do that. Does that make sense? So now I'm going to be back up here at the top, and I can come through. And same problem here. We're not going to do user guess. We're going to do a print statement and come back up here. Problem solved. Did everybody follow that? So instead of reinventing the wheel, I'm going to do a print statement, kick back up here to our user, let them input, and come back around. All right. And this should This should do it. Yep. Print, and we're going to do a test. We're not going to get rid of anything. We're just going to, what you have, copy, paste, we don't need this, and then copy, paste. All right, let's check this out, because then we loop back up here and we're back to square one. All right, let's run this. Everybody follow me so far. I know that was a lot. So we're going to test Z1. You have already made that guess. Please enter another guess. Okay, so A1. Bing. No. Oh. Wrong one. Okay. Q. I copied, and I should have been copying this. F string. Copy. Paste. And I need 1, 2. Actually, it's not multi-line. We just need one. Does everybody understand multi-line strings need 3? All right, let's see. And we'll go over this very, very slowly. Oh, my back is killing me. All right, so we need to test Z1. Z1 is an invalid guess. Please enter a valid guess. All right, A1. Okay, A1. You already entered. Do you guys want, I think I want some spaces in between all of this. Make this a little bit better. You've already entered that space. Please enter another guess. All right, let's see. Let's bring this up here so everybody can, we can look at this in a minute. And that's, yeah, my big old noggin's out of the way. All right. So now Z1, invalid guess, Z1, W1, okay, A1, I've already guessed that, B1, C1, Z1. All right, so that was that. So now let's go back over what I discovered in a design problem. And okay, good. We solved that issue because we were just looping back around. So we were gonna, this was fine in the way we designed it. And we were trying to get fancy, and all we needed to do was just print out a message. And there we go. We just needed to print out a message and have it loop back through. We didn't have to get fancy. Perfect example of over-engineering. If I kept going down this path, oops, sorry. If I kept going down this path, this thing was going to get ridiculous very quickly. I was about to start copying and pasting this and putting this in here and this in here and this in here. And all I needed to do was trust my original design, put out a message, loop back through, start back here. Press Q to quit, take input from the user. Tell them this bit of information of why that was wrong. Tell them why that was wrong. And then move on. So I was about to do the cardinal sin of thinking I was smarter than the problem, instead of making sure I understood what the problem was. I cannot share that bit of advice with you guys more intensely. Do not, hang on, just got a weird message. Do not overcomplicate it. Understand the problem that you have at hand. Do not make the problem bigger than it is. Actually, here's a perfect example. and I'm good at boiling things down to the simplest term. So trying to help my kid understand when I need the garage door closed. So I realized that I had all sorts of scenarios for things. And basically it's, if you're the last one in, close the garage door. If you're the last one to leave, close the garage door. If you're walking through it, leave it the way that you found it. So, if you walked in and it was closed, close it. So, instead of having an if statement, an if and else statement for every single thing, how can you simplify it and make it the cleanest version as possible? So now let's go ahead and I kind of want to keep this to show how bad this was. So we're going to do this. Yeah, we're going to come over here. So we're going to clean this up. Copy. Oops. Yeah, that didn't do it. And here we go. Not copy, but highlight. So now, get rid of this. There. So now, I have made a guessing game, and with extra spaces, you can boil this down. I have the example of how it looks, and I start on line 31, and I go down to 74, and just my clean, perfect order of operations. Come down here and I loop back up. Print out the board. Make my guess. Blah, blah, blah. If the guesses are bad, I come back up and I let them know. Ooh, do we need to reprint the board? It's working. So Z1. Do we technically need to reprint the board? I don't know. Maybe so. Maybe we can fix that at a later time. So if you're just joining us, we've just expanded upon some bugs that we had, and it was a little redundant. It was a little over engineered, and we've now cleaned this up. So Z1, so A1, now Z1. Perfect. All these paths work because I'm just constantly going in a loop, printing out the board, and waiting for my user. If the user enters Q, we quit, immediately break out of the loop. If we enter a redundant guess, a duplicate guess, it allows us to know you've already guessed that because we're handling this by popping out all of the guesses. Now, I think we're handling this, but let's make sure we guess an X more than once. Let's test that. I don't think we've tested this. So my X is, I have a hidden X behind C2. C2 again. You've already guessed that space. Please enter another guess. All right, cool. So that handles that. So we're not popping out anything out of our hidden X's. We're handling that with our spaces list, because if we were to quit, let's do A1. Let's check a couple. Oh, A1 was one of them too. I didn't notice. So now, wow, we got C2, A1. Let's do Z1. All right, good. Let's do D4. Whoa. Okay, what happened? All right, we just inadvertently, I thought I hit 4, and I did not. D4? Okay, so now we just found something else we need to guard against. All right, so we need to have an overarching check if elif user so now I think we're going to get to do this. If len, so you got, does everyone know len? Because we're about to use, so right now, user guess, it's still Q. Okay, so user guess, yeah, here we go. This works. So len dot user guess. It is length of 1. So if it's not Q, so check this out. It breaks out of the loop. And now we're going to use a word. If you guys haven't seen continue, this is a control. elif len less than 2. Ooh, what happens? So now this just made me think about it. What happens if they enter and they enter in 44? So we need to guard against this too. So we need to guard against the input not being long enough, and we need to guard against the input being too long. So here we go. And we're going to get to use continue, which is the equivalent in Python to a goto line. So we're going to, it's going to, so when break happens, stops, breaks out of this, the first layer of a loop, just stops everything, blah, 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 blah. And actually, technically, now that I'm thinking about it, we don't even have any messages for after they've found all 4 X's. All right, so we're going to do this. We're going to go probably at least to solve this problem. So elif in between. So we can take, it needs to be the length of 2. So we're going to hard code this. Length user guess not equal. There we go. We're just going to handle this. Not equal to 2. So if it's 1 or 17, just not equal to 2. Please enter a valid guess. So check this out. And we're going to use we're going to use the opposite of break, the counterpart to break, and we're going to use continue. So what this is going to do, continue is a very interesting keyword. And I think I brought it up about continue. So I brought this up about like a goto line. So in Python, the way that, so continue may, only occurs syntactically nested in a for or while loop, but not nested in a function or a class within the loop. It continues to the next cycle to the nearest enclosed loop. So this is very important. So if you had multiple layers of loops, whiles or for, it only jumps out 1, the nearest. So when if this happens, it's going to continue, it's going to stop here and go up to wherever the closest, the indented loop is. So it's not going to come and test here. So it's not going to get out of the loop and in the program, in the entire script, because we only have 1 while loop. It's going to go here and go, oh, wait a second. All right, you want me to go you just want me to stop and you want me to continue on. So it's a little weird. Go back. I don't know. They had to pick a word, so they picked continue. So I'm going to come up here and it's just going to loop back around. It's just going to say, hey, why don't you go back and start over? And continue looping. Stop executing anything below. So let's back out of here and run this. So if I do D, please enter a valid guess. All right, cool. Came up here. So D 44444. Please enter a valid guess. So we're not here. Now let's check and make sure that we're gonna do our standard A1. Ooh, perfect. And we just inadvertently just handled a blank entry. So we set it as not equal to 2. So we just tried, because we want the queue to happen first, higher priority. Check this first, then break out. And then now, if it is an invalid guess, if it doesn't have 2 characters, and I guess technically, I don't know. I'm kind of getting a little tired today, everyone. So if you're just jumping in, thanks you for joining us today. Please make sure you're hitting the like button, and if you're brand new, the subscribe button and the notification bell. And also, so you can stay current with any discussions that may be having, making sure that you're jumping over to the Discord server. So what happens if they did AD? What would happen? That is awesome. It just caught that. How are we doing that? So that's perfect. And we are handling that because it is not a valid guess. Because it's not in here, nor bingo. So this is kind of cool. So if the first character is not a letter. Okay. So us doing it this way. I had a feeling this was the most powerful, and we just proved that it's invalid. Okay. Well, that is pretty fancy. All right. So we're here. So Z1, A1. So we're testing and we're hitting all of our. So I did Z1. So we did 4D, and when we hit our bucket. 4D is invalid. Please enter a valid guess. We re-see the board. Enter Q to quit. We're constantly reminding them. Z1, it's an invalid guess. Please enter a valid guess. Blah, blah, blah. A1, you've already guessed that. And let's hit A1 again. Now we need to... How long have we been on? Hour and 18 minutes. And hour and 18 minutes. All right. So when we break, we need to do thank you for playing. All right, so that's when we end. So let's handle this by, let's do a counter. Counter equals 0. While counter less than 4. So there's 4 X's, 4 guesses. So all right, this is the way we're going to do this. So if you get an X, we're going to increment counter by 1. I think this should do it. All right. Quit. Okay. Run. So we got B3, B1, E5, E4. Let's see. B3. Oops. That is not what should happen. Thank you for playing. Counter. Counter less than, did I do that wrong? Counter less than 4. Counter is 8. Oh. Interesting. Don't remember. Do I have X's already? Okay. All right. For some reason, I used a counter variable. So I'm changing my to X's and make sure. All right. So every time I replace an X, meaning I made a guess correctly, I'm incrementing my X's. So setting X's to 0, having 0 guesses correct. Do this while my guesses are less than 4. So now let's go ahead and do this. We need to fix this down here, because right now we're going to hit this every single time. We don't have any distinguishing factor as if they won or not. So E1, E4. Okay, we have a problem. Check this out. This wasn't supposed to happen with our choices. So the way that we read the documentation, all right, we need to do E6 or F6, and then we'll deal with our choices. And then E1. But we're not going to be able to do it because we've already guessed that. No. Okay. So let's. No. Okay. E3. We got to solve that. Hey, Alex. How are you doing? I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I would love to say that I have Spanish down, but I have not spoken a word of Spanish probably for 35. So what? It would have been 12 Spanish in middle school. So 13, 14, probably 12, 13. So we're talking 34, 35 years ago. So what we're doing is we're making our guessing board game more robust, and we just found a problem with our choices. B6, C1, and B1. All right. So we just handled this down here. If so, we need to distinguish. So if they pressed Q, they quit the game. If, let's see. Okay. If user guess equals Q, then this, no, we're not going to do that. Else, print you win. Thanks for playing. And then if you want to get fancy, you could say, do you want to play again? And then you can loop back through. All right. Now, you can work on that one, because I'm probably going to finish this up, and then we're going to call it a morning, because I want to have, and I just realized I didn't do that thing that I keep forgetting to do before I start live streaming. But at least I unmuted everything. Nico, did you send stuff? Felt like Nico sent. Yeah. There you go. We did look at that. Talking about my superpower. No, my superpower is showing up every day. Just like this live stream. Wasn't feeling it, but I knew I would feel bad after if I did not. So, all right, let's test this down here. So we've got a problem with our choice that we need to deal with. So E6, C3, and then quit. Thank you for playing. All right. A1, C6, A5, A6. You win. Thanks for playing. All right. Now, we just found out. Let's come up here. So I thought we read documentation that choices would not be duplicates. But as we look right here, it is a duplicate. So if you're just jumping on, what we're doing is we're finishing our board guessing game, and we have handled all sorts of dilemmas today. So we had plenty of order of operations, plenty of paths, decisions, order of operations. All of those are the exact same. So do not be afraid of making a mistake with this. So there's two key points of correcting flow, correcting bugs. Do not be afraid of them, and you've got to learn from them. Both of those they sound different, but they're both ego related. Subconscious, ego, I dump those in the same two buckets. So now we've got to learn. There's got to be a better way. There has to be a better way for us to fix choices, because we just found out there is a bug in the way in which, so be very careful how you say this. There's not a bug in, because I doubt there's a bug in random choices. There's a bug in the way in which we are using it. So you have to take onerous of what you're doing, where to go. So to make sure, we now need to redo. There it is. So E1, E4, E1, E6, F6. Sorry. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a copy of this, and we're going to pop them out. So they can't be duplicates, because if it is not there, it can't be done. All right. Does that make sense? All right, let's come over here. Let's see if we've missed anything. Nope. So we need to look at the documentation just one more time for random.choices. Random. Yep. Choice and choices. Random. Sudo. Help. Random. All right, let's bring this over here. Choices. All right, chosen with replacement. I could have sworn. So I guess with replacement is duplicate. So let's come over here and redo. Let's do help. Random.choices. Is there any more? All right, population, weights none, cumulative weight none, K1. Return the size population. All right, random choices, random bytes, get size, random range, choices. Here we go. All right, here's the. Let's bring this all the way over here. Shrink this down. So here we are. K size, list of elements, chosen from population with replacements. If the population is empty, raise index error. Relative weight. Let's see. choices. Weights or cumulative weight can use any numeric type. Interoperates with a float. Values are returned random. Okay. We're going to be... I'd like more definition on weights and cumulative weights. What's the asterisk? So it could take args. Okay, got it. That's an interesting way. Population, don't know why that's not a sequence. From the population with replacements. If or cumulative weights. Typically given a seed choice function, either way typically produces a different sequence. Then repeated calls on choice. Algorithm's choice uses float points, algorithmic, and internal. Yep. Consistency, speed, algorithm uses choice, different integers, algorithmic, repeating selections to avoid smaller bias and errors. All right. Okay. So we're just going to need to, we're going to have to do a little bit more work. That's fine. We can handle this. But since we found out, there's probably something with cumulative and weights, but I do not want to bore everybody. So we need to handle this spaces. So we're not going to So I don't want to make a copy of this because you can get into some copy problems. So we're actually going to I'm going to show you this. So we're going to do X. And 1, 2, 3, close this. Y equals X, if I recall. So then when I change, if I remember what you can get into with an issue with this, equals 5. So Y, and then also I believe, yeah. So see, this is one of the issues that can happen because I'm pointing, because technically I'm pointing Y to say, hey, mirror X. So I wanted to show you why that I'm going to do this a certain way. I'm going to duplicate this. And so when you assign this, and you can get into the whole copy, deep copy, you start going down a rabbit hole. So be very wary when you're going to make a copy of something. You're not copying it this way. You're pointing at the same information. So if you look really close, I changed Y, but I subsequently changed X. So now let's go Y equals a copy of X. If I remember, this is, so now let's change Y back to 1. Y is here, X is still here. This is a very subtle, this is a huge distinction between problem solving and then understanding how Python works. You'll run across, and you don't have to spend time learning. As you can see, this is the first time I've been explaining this. This is actually something you want to learn in Python. This is what you want to think about logically in human brain. So I want you to, let's go back and revisit this. So I was about to make a huge faux pas and make this so overly complicated and have all these paths and reprint up here, and all I needed to do was go, wait a second. I'm jumping down here and I'm coming back up here. Don't reinvent the wheel. Now, this is a process in understanding what's happening under the hood in Python. This is good to spend time learning on how things operate, because this can throw you off over here if you're not expecting how it works. Just like when I made my mistake about my pop, I was using it as remove, because remove, you just pass in the first object. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my list of x's, and I'm going to copy spaces just like I did over here. So now I'm going to loop through. I'm going to loop through and make a random choice from this, and I'm going to make a new list. So let's see. So now I have, let's bring this in here, and I'm going to quit. So now I'm going to have my list of x's. Perfect. And I have my spaces, and they're not going to touch each other. So I'm going to double check. I'm going to double check here. I'm going to change spaces 0 to, actually I'm going to change -1 so I don't have to worry about scrolling. I'm going to change my last index to Z1. All right, spaces Z1, perfect. And now I'm going to copy list x's. Bingo, working exactly like I'm expecting to. So now what I'm going to do is I need to then iterate through here, and I'm going to pop this out and just grab me, let's see, for I in, because we're gonna do this list x's for I in range random what do I want to do? Because I also want to grab it, but then I also want to pop it out. Yuck. Because I want to remove it from the list, and I have to pop it with an index. So then I need to make a random choice. So random dot choice, then pass in a sequence. Is this gonna work? Never done this before ever. Let's try this. Okay, print. Let's see. This is gonna be gnarly. Okay, let's fix this. For range, yeah, here we go. 4, because I just want this to happen 4 times. All right. So now, as I go through, I want to pop this out. So come down here. So I want to pop this, and same thing how pops works. So I'm going to get my random choice, and I'm also going to do some research of how to ensure that we're only making the same. Yeah, I'm going to be very interested. We're going to talk about this tomorrow a lot. If you are new on here and you've not hit that like button, please make sure you're hitting the like button. So random choice. So then list dot x is random choice dot index got 1 2 1 2. Man, this is gonna be, but this is what I could do this in list comprehension, but this is gonna be so gnarly. And then list x dot pop index print. Here we go. Oops. I'm missing. How am I missing anything? Ah. Mixing one of those. There we go. All right, so this should be, I'm not going to put this in list comprehension because it would be so far off the screen and it would aggravate me. All right. So this is what we're going to do. So now I need to put this into our hidden X's. So if I were to put this, that would be the ugliest list comprehension that I think I've ever done. I could clean this up. I really don't want to. Hidden X's. It's blank list. Then hidden X's dot append. No. Yeah. Append. And then this. I'll go over this in a second. Does anybody need me to go over this one more time? Because I know this is a lot. And we're doing this. And this just happened again. Check this out. So I need to get rid of this. And quit. All right. So this is how bad this is. This is how frequently this can happen. So let's run this again. Pop is out of range. All right, so we have an issue. So do not run away from this. Index pop out of range. And okay, so we may be doing some more dilemma, more indication because so, all right. So does everybody know what is happening right here? So each time through, I am popping out this list, and the list is becoming shorter and shorter. So the second time through, I went and I looked back at the list, and the list was shorter than it was. But that should work fine. Index, pop index out of range. So what is index? Index 35. So let's see. All right. Hidden X's, index pop list. Oh, This is dumb. All right. So I'm killing this. So I'm trying to pop this, and I've already popped it here. So I need to be, if I wanted this to work, I would do this. Let's go over what I just did. And this is what running down bugs will do for you. Paste. Item. I was trying to do the same thing twice. So here. In programming, you can only do the same thing twice. So I want to remove So like if I tried to remove, I'm trying to remove the same index from this list twice, and it's like, hey, moron, you have no idea what you're trying to do because you just did. So now I'm going to do this, and this is going to work. See? All right, so I don't need to. So once I created this and turned this into a variable, because this right here is creating, I'm returning an object because pop returns. Let's come over here. Oops. Let's quit this. So let's remind ourselves what pop is. So I was reusing pop, but pop returns something, and then I was going, oh, hey, can you now go ahead and print that out to the screen? It's like, that doesn't exist because I just did it. So now when I do item, it's F5. So once I created it to something, then I refer to it here and here. So I can reprint this item, but I was saying, I was doing, hey, do this option again. But it was already done. Because I was like, how is it out of range? I assumed I was going through the list, shortening the list. And I was like, well, wait a second. I'm not using the list itself. I'm not going through it 4 times here. It was here. So just by trial and error and making mistakes, like I said, yes, okay, I'm kind of smart. I'm only kind of smart is because I've done this tens of thousands of times. I've made this stupid mistake with an index error, and I was like, wait a minute, all right, so I'm trying to find something that doesn't exist anymore. Well, what am I messing with the index? Well, I'm messing with the index with pop. So, all right, why is pop going? Well, then I saw, okay, I'm doing this action once, and then I'm trying to do the exact same actions a second time. It's very akin to opening a file and say, go and read line 1 and move it over there. All right, now go and read line 1 and move it over there. And it's like, well, I can't read line 1. You just had me move it over there. And those are those order of operations. It's like, okay, my bad. Now go down to line 2 and reread that. Or if you want to go and read line 1, you have to move the cursor back up to line 1. But it's like, I'm now on line 2, and you say, go read line 1. And I'm like, but I'm on line 2. So when I get rid of this index right here, I can't go and get rid of this index again. It's already done. So it's like, go and unlock the door. Go and unlock the door. It's going to throw up. Now, if you put in there, okay, go and check and see if the door is locked. If locked, unlock. And those caveats of instructions are extremely important. So I suggest you do things like this so you will make a mistake, so you will have this problem, so you'll become excellent at solving these issues. So now we have problem solved. I wonder if I can, because I know there has to be a way to use a random choice, and there is, because I'm sure other programmers do not have to do garbage like this. But this is important. Build this, get this to work. Be able to do this, and then go find a very elegant way. And this is how you become a junior developer. Then you read better documentation. Because don't be afraid. If you understand and can think through this, you can go and read documentation yourself and learn better code. But if you can't follow through the logic of why my previous thing was being built, and you can't follow boom, 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 go and make sure human brain is working optimally, and you can go through the steps. Because I knew it was here and here, but something was stopping it. It wasn't stopping it. I was overriding the variable. I was taking input here, and then it was coming all the way back up to here and rewriting it. And it wasn't catching any of it because it wasn't hitting this. So then I went, all right, I need to get rid of all this. Just give information, come back up here and sit and wait for more input. All right, so we've solved we've solved all sorts of issues now, so let's test. Let's test this out. So we're still printing. We don't need to print this. We don't need to print this. Let's get rid of this. Paste. I wonder how ugly this would be if we put this in list comprehension. I kind of want to do that before we go. We've been here an hour and 50 minutes, so maybe I can do that in 10 minutes and see how long this has to go. All right, so quit. All right, thank you for playing. Run this again. All right, let's see. D6, G5, 5G. Awesome. Okay. A1. I've already guessed that. Now we already have an X, so let's test D6. Let's make sure. You've already guessed that space. Please enter another guess. All right. Awesome. Let's see. We did C6, A4, C6, A4. 1, 2, 3, and we have one more. Was it D? What was it? F4. F4 will be the last one. F4. You win. Thanks for playing. All right. Awesome. So we have differentiated between quitting and winning. Awesome. Because we are doing this right here. We're incrementing before our guesses. So when we make our 4 guesses, we're incrementing up by 1 each time we get 1, and then we come up here and we break out. So now, let's try. Let's see if we can get this into list comprehension, and then we're going to be wrapped up for the day, and then we'll figure out another awesome session for tomorrow. But in case I get distracted, thank you everybody for joining us today. I think we've talked about some pretty cool stuff. If you have just joined in the past few minutes, and you've not hit that like button, go ahead and do that for me. So right now we have this gnarly for loop solving our problem that we've self-inflicted by not understanding how to make random choices from a list with no duplicates. So I believe the term with replacements for choices is our problem. I'm going to be doing some reading on some documentation later tonight. So we need to check this out. So this is working. So we're going to try this. Hidden X's equals. So first, I for I in range 4. So now let's see. This is going to be ugly. This actually may not be as bad as I think. All right. That's not that bad. That's not that bad, is it? It's not near as bad as I thought. It's ugly to read. So here I am. I'm making my random choice inside of this. I'm getting my index from this, and I'm popping that out, and I'm making that here. Look at all the, okay. 1. Nope, I got problems here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Really? 1, 2, 3. There it is. Okay. You always want to check and make sure opening and closings, parentheses, quotation marks, anything like that. Let's run this. See what happens. All right, cool. So we can get rid of this right here. There we are. We did that with list comprehension. It wasn't quite as ugly and quite as gnarly, but I will, like I said, I will be reading some documentation so we don't have to do something this ugly, and we could do random. I don't know if it's iter. Feel like there may be some an iter module issues, because I mean, to be honest, I've probably done a video on this because this has probably come up before, probably for this actual issue, but don't know. We'll see. So there we go, everyone. Up and quit. I think we have all problems solved today, and we've done that in under 2 hours. But the overarching theme of today's video is embrace the bug, embrace the mistake, embrace the error. It quiets your ego, it quiets your subconscious. And if you can really truly do that, your ego will get calmer and calmer, and then you'll begin to learn from your mistakes. Because what your ego is going to do is it's going to become defensive. And the smarter you are, the more powerful your ego and your subconscious is. And you're going to have to quiet those, because it's like when I started programming in Python, my typing skills improved because I just kept typing all the time because of all the mistakes that I was making. So don't be afraid of a bug. Stick to it. Find it. Make sure you're going down the right path. Make sure you I'm telling you, make sure you understand what the problem is. Because as we were doing this in live format, I was coming down here and being dyslexic, interpretation of what I think I would have. And it took a minute because I was here and I was like, but I'm taking my user input. I'm typing it. Why is it doing it? Well, then why was I getting a second one? Because it was overriding, and it was writing here, and that's why it was the second time I entered it. Because first time I entered it was down here, but it did no checks. It doesn't do a check until after this one. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Use the way you designed it. Use the tools that you have at hand. Don't over-design it. Don't over-engineer it. Do not over-engineer it. Simple is clean. And then look, we're using break and we're using continue. And what we found is the way that we did this right here, it handled the inverse of, because we were checking this first character of our user input. And if it is not A through F, hey, you made an invalid guess. So if it's 6, and then also here, if it is something other than Q, or it is not the length of 2, we get dumped here. We hit continue, and we go right back around here, print the new board, come here, boom. All right. So there we go, everyone. Gonna do some, like I said, gonna do some research on random choice. Gonna do some reading on that tonight, some documentation. That's when you know you're a nerdy nerd, is you're like, can't wait to read some documentation on the random module, or finding a random choices with no duplicates. But I do. I honestly do. And I remember when I was first reading posts of programmers and they talk about, I love reading documentation. I'm like, that's so weird. Why don't you program and build stuff? You have to know how it works before you can build stuff. So, all right. Anything pressing before we drop? Because I'm about to drop, and we'll see each other tomorrow. Well, you'll see me tomorrow. I will only read from you guys tomorrow. But maybe, nope. But hope all is well. Hope everybody has a good rest of their weekend. So there we go. Going once, going twice. If you have any questions, make sure, if you've not joined Discord, do that now. Awesome. Thank you, Nico. I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with me today, as always. Don't know who else is here right now, but thank you very much. I love getting to share this, what I know. And please hit me up, ask me any questions. You can DM me on Discord if you do not want anybody else to know the question, but I promise you, if you have that question, somebody else has the question, and it's going to help me, it's going to help you, and it's going to help them. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will see you all next time. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.